everybody. This is Armida Abreu Martinez, and I am on today for one of our meetings for Boomerang. And the meeting for today that I'm going to be running is called Forgiveness. Why forgiveness is the key to living a happy and peaceful life. Thank you guys for being here so much. And before I go into that, I just want to give you guys a little bit of a background of who I am and why I do what I do. So I am a life, mindset, self-love, and relationship coach. And the reason I decided to do all of this was for personal reasons. I myself had some struggles in the past that I overcame through, doing deep spiritual work, deep healing work, inner child work, and a lot of just taking responsibility for where I was. And so after I had gone through this whole journey of figuring out who I was, what I wanted to do with my life, and who I was, because I was so disconnected from myself at a certain point in my life, that I had to learn to reconnect to myself through my healing journey. And after I went through that process, the difference was night and day. I went from being stuck, feeling guilt, feeling shame, feeling like I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, to actually feeling content, happy, peaceful, and just this beautiful, magical place that I never thought existed. I thought it was only a type of a state of being that you could reach when you're in a movie. I didn't realize that energy was actually available to all of us. And so I just wanted to share some helpful tips to help you guys navigate your healing journey. And forgiveness to me was one of the biggest things that I had to work on when I started this journey, because as long as I felt resentment and anger and fear towards other people, I was not allowing me to connect to my authentic self, my genuine self. And then I was coming from a place of judging, which is a place of lack and fear. And so I went through this journey of healing, forgiving the people, the circumstances in my life, and also myself. I think one of the hardest things for us to do is to really forgive ourselves. I know that after I started that journey, forgiving myself was actually one of the last things I did, but it was the most freeing thing I had ever done. And so with this presentation, I just wanted to give you guys a little feedback and a little bit of information on how to start this journey of healing, starting with forgiveness. Forgiveness to me is one of the number one things you can do. So I hope you guys enjoy the session. I am gonna have a little PowerPoint presentation. I'm gonna pull it up and share my screen. I'm gonna go through the presentation, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask at the end. I will ask, it's time for questions. You can type it on the chat, or you can, I guess, unmute yourself and ask your question. So thank you guys for being here. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you guys. I'm gonna now take a few minutes just to share my screen. Can you guys all see this? Okay, so I hope you guys, I'm sure. Can you guys see it? No?
No.
Okay, interesting. All right, let me go back. Oh, what? I apologize about that. Let me see why this is not coming up. Okay, I apologize about this. It was working earlier. For the sake of time, I don't want to hold you guys back up. I'm just going to go through the slides and just do a presentation. I do have them on my phone, so I apologize about that. But I don't want to hold you guys up. Let me just pull up my slides. I'm going to stop sharing screen. Okay, good. You guys can see me. So just give me a few minutes so I can pull it up on my phone. Technical difficulty. Sometimes we got to roll with the punches. Thank you for your patience. So the first thing I wanted, before we move on into further, I just wanted to say that, the definition of forgiveness, right? Sometimes I want to make sure when I'm running a training and speaking to people that they understand what we're talking about really means. Because sometimes life is all about perception and we can have different definitions to what forgiveness or a different topic might be. So I just wanted to talk about this. So the definition, according to the dictionary, the definition of forgiveness is the action or process of forgiving or being forgiven. Psychologists generally define forgiveness as a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance towards a person or group who has harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, nor does it mean condoning or excusing offenses. This is something really big. I think sometimes we hold on to the feelings of forgiveness because we think that if we forgive the person, we're letting them off the hook and pretending like what happened never happened. And so we sometimes hold on to the grudge because we don't want to release the person from what they have done, or we don't want to feel like whatever they did that hurt us never happened. But that's actually not the case. Forgiven doesn't mean that what happened to you didn't happen, or, that the other person was not, wrong for hurting you. It just means that you understand that their lack of awareness at a certain moment hurt you, and that you can see them be for the person that they are and realize that you can forgive them, so that you can set yourself free. Because there's a quote that says that forgiveness, holding on to resentment, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And that's what not forgiving somebody does to you. It really just messes up. It really eats up at you and keeps you in a lower vibrating energy, which doesn't help you grow, evolve, and do the things that you want to do in life. Because when you're in low level energies like resentment, fear, when you fight on fight or flight mode, you can't possibly be creating because your energies are not elevated. So this is why it's so important to forgive. You're not forgiving the other person because what they didn't do didn't happen. You're forgiving them because you know you deserve peace in your heart.
On a scale of 1 to 5, would you give yourself a 5 on achieving what you want in life? If your answer is anything less than a 5, right now, I have something awesome for you. Achieving your goals and living your life at a 5 isn't easy. Most people aren't prepared to focus, stay disciplined, and do the everyday work that is necessary to achieve amazing results. But since you're watching this, then I'm guessing that you're not one of those people. And this is an opportunity that will change your life. Give to Get is a global program that brings together world-class coaching and combines it with empowering masterminds and networking opportunities. We provide 5-star guidance for the price of a cup of coffee a day. To find out more, click on the link in the description of this coaching session.
So I want to make this very clear because I know this is something that a lot of people struggle with. So what are the spiritual benefits of forgiveness? It helps us to have better relationships with ourselves and with everyone around us. It brings peace to our spiritual beings, which helps you go on with your life. It helps us to vibrate at a higher vibration, which will help us to attract the experiences and people into our lives that we most desire and want. It can help us have empathy, understanding, and compassion for the person who hurt us. So forgiveness is really important if you want to live your life in your terms and if you want to be a creator. You cannot possibly create anything if you're on fight or flight mode. So this is why forgiveness is really important. And so I hope you guys are enjoying the training. The next part is how to let go and forgive. I think a lot of times, we don't even know that we have the power to forgive. I know when I was going through my journey, there were times that I thought I had to have resentment and fear. I didn't realize that I had an option. So that's something really big for us to realize, is that we always have a choice and we have an option. We don't have to stay in resentment and in fear and in anger. We can let that go. And I know for me, that was something that I had to learn, and it was hard for me when I actually learned that. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I actually have an option in this. So make a conscious decision to let go because you recognize that the pain is hurting you, right? So these are some questions that I want you to ponder on. So if there's a person in your life, there's a circumstance, there's something in your life that it's eating you up, it's holding you back, it's weighing you down, I want you to sit down and really reflect on these questions, right? The first question is, what problems is this pain causing me, right? And I want you to get really real with yourself. This is not an exercise that you're going to do when there's a lot of distractions going around you. This is an exercise you do after you put the kids to bed, or early in the morning before they wake up, or not in the workplace, right before you go to bed. Pick a time in the day that you can really sit down with yourself and be real and be true to yourself. Make yourself a cup of tea, coffee, water, whatever, light a candle, light an incense. This is a great time for you to just really tune into yourself and get real with these questions. And then the most important thing is, when you're asking yourself these questions, please, please, please do not judge yourself. Whatever answer comes out, it needs to come out to help you heal. This is not a time for you to place judgment on your situation and on your feelings and whatever's coming out of you. This is just to bring awareness, because you can't change or fix something that you're not aware of. So I want you to do this with a lot of compassion and a lot of love for yourself. So the first question is, what problems is this pain causing me? Get really real, journal it out. When you journal things out, it gets it from out of your head onto paper, and it'll get you in flow state so that you can really get the answers that you're looking for. The next question is, this pain affecting my relationship with others and or with myself? Third question, is this pain affecting my career or my family? Then after that, is this pain stopping me from pursuing my desires? Number 5, is this pain stopping me from showing up as my higher and better version? Number 6, is this pain causing me to be unhappy and anxious? So get really real with yourselves. Ask yourself all these questions and make sure that when you're answering them, that you're actually coming from an authentic place. You're not trying to control the answer. You're just letting the pen flow so that you can get the answer. The more real you can get with yourself, the easier it's going to be for you to let this go. So always keep in mind that everyone is doing the best that they can with the resources that they have available. Behavior is geared for adaptation, and the presented behavior is the best choice available to them. Every behavior is motivated by a positive intent. So remember that we can only function to the level of awareness that we're aware of. And so sometimes when we're hurting other people, it's a defense mechanism because we're ourselves in fight or flight mode. And when we're hurting other people, we're not necessarily doing it on purpose. We're doing it because we're trying to protect ourselves, because we feel like we're going to be hurt, or we're going to be, we're going to be in pain. So automatically we put our walls up, and now we deflect that onto other people. So when we're hurting other people, we're projecting because we're in fear mode. When you get to this point, again, I want you to do this exercise when you're tuned into yourself and really feeling into your body. The questions to ask yourself is, what could he or she have been thinking? Just flow with it. And again, no judgment towards yourself and no judgment towards the other person or circumstance that you're trying to heal and heal through. Number 2, what could have happened to this person in the past to make them do this? This is really important when we can focus on why. I think our circumstances, our traumas tend to shape the person that we are today. And usually when we're on fight or flight mode, when we're hurting other people, it's usually because we have some unhealed traumas ourselves. And I'm saying it because I've been there. I've been guilty of hurting other people accidentally, but I was just trying to protect myself, right? And the people who have hurt me, after I was able to forgive them and move forward, I realized that they didn't mean to hurt me, that it was actually something that they just didn't know any better, right? And so we have to realize that we all perceive life differently. And so we all sometimes are gonna look at a situation from a different lens. And there's times when people hurt us, and the people who hurt us don't even realize that they've hurt us. And we're over here holding on to this grudge and this resentment, and they're going on with their happy life, not realizing that something they said or did could have hurt you. So this is why it's so important for us to process these emotions and get them flowing out of our system so that we can free up that energy to create and to attract what it is that we want in life. So the next one is, are they even aware of the pain that they have caused me? I guess that came, I was preparing. A lot of times people may not be. So like I said before, make sure that you answer these questions from an authentic, really tune into your heart energy. One of the fastest way you can get out of your head and into your heart, it's just right before you do this exercise, or anytime you're feeling triggered for whatever reason, bring yourself out of your head and into your body by tuning into your heart space. Easiest way to do this, one hand over your heart, one hand over your belly. You take a couple of deep belly breaths, feel your belly growing, and just keep it there and take maybe 6 or 7 breaths. That'll definitely tune you back into your body, to your heart space, where is your authentic self, where you're going to get the answers that you're searching for. When you're in your head space, you're not going to, you're in fight or flight mode. And when you're in that fight or flight mode, you're not thinking straight. You're trying to defend yourself. You're not thinking clearly. So make sure that's an easy step exercise that you can do to get into that heart space. Hurt people, not on purpose, but because they don't know any better. It is their ignorance and lack of resources that motivates them to act in a certain way. So I want to make sure that we keep that in mind, that it's not people who hurt us are not doing it on purpose. And I want to be clear, if somebody's in your life hurting you right now, that doesn't mean they get to stay in your life and be a part of your life. You have the right to forgive them because you know it's only hurting you. But at that point, you have the right to set healthy boundaries from yourself and love them from a distance, right? Because you have to connect to yourself and do what feels in alignment to you. And setting healthy boundaries, it's really important for you. So I want to be clear about that, that if you have someone in your life right now that is currently not treating you the way you feel that is in alignment with you, that doesn't mean that they get to do that. You get to forgive them for you, but you get to set the healthy boundaries that will work for you. And that's different for everybody, and that's different for every circumstance. But I want to make sure that I am not condoning that if someone's hurting you, you just keep them in your life and keep forgiving them over and over again. You have to set those boundaries for yourself, and you have to get clear on what that is. But in order for you to do that, you have to do this exercise of forgiving and releasing, and then tuning into your heart space, not your head space, so that you can then align with what decision is best suited for you and for that situation. You don't want to do that when you're angry. You want to do that when you're centered. So understand your responsibility. Another good thing you can do is understand your responsibility. Try to figure out your responsibility for what has happened. What could you have done to prevent it, and how could you prevent it from happening in the future? Please, 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 please do this step without judgment. This is one of the most important things. Anytime you're doing self-reflection work, it's not about judging ourselves at that moment. And I'm going to keep saying this because I want to make sure that when you're looking at yourself, you're looking at yourself through the eyes of love, the eyes of compassion, and the eyes of authenticity. So I don't want you, when you do this step and all of the steps, I really want you to tune into yourself and do this with a lot of love and compassion, and don't judge yourself. This step is meant to help you realize that you are not victim, but a participant in life. And that this is very empowering to know, because as victims, we give our power away to other people. But when we, as participants, we can take our power back, right? And maybe, this is I'm gonna stop here for a minute. This is one of the hardest things to do, right? Because I as well was in situations where I had to forgive other people. And during those timeframes when I was in resentment and anger, I was pointing the finger at everybody else and making it about them. But by me doing that, I was giving away my power. And if you're giving your power to other people, you don't have any control, because you think everybody else is controlling your life, controlling your circumstances. So one of the best things for you to do is, without judgment, get real with yourself, because this is what's going to set you free. Get really real with yourself, tune into yourself, and do that self-evaluation. And then you know to do things differently. And then when you realize this, you take your power back. And when you have your power back, you have control. And when you have control, you can change the circumstances. But if you're not in control, you're going to feel like you can't do anything about whatever it is that's happening. So I want to make sure you guys are aware of that. And I want to make sure that you do this from a place of love and compassion. I can't keep saying that enough, because we're not doing this to judge ourselves. We're doing this to heal. So this is a great time to practice forgiveness on yourself. I think this is a good time. I know we talked about forgiving others, forgiving any other circumstance, but sometimes we got to forgive the version of us that wasn't aware enough that we could set those boundaries, right? Because sometimes we're just not aware. We don't even know that that is an option. So this is a good time for you to get real with yourself and do the forgiveness work on yourself. And this step is meant to help you realize that you have control. And this is what I want you to know, that you have the control, you have the power. We don't want to give our power away to other people, because that's not how we're going to blossom in life and get to and get our dream job and get our career and get our happiness. We're not going to do that when we're giving that power to other people. Give yourself the time and space to process and let go of the version of you that allowed this to happen. Remember that the version of you that allowed this to happen had a need that was trying to be met at that moment. Figure out what that need is and figure out how you can meet that need in a healthy manner. So sometimes, like for me, when I was going through a lot of things, I had a need for love and connection. Some of my childhood past trauma was abandonment and neglect. And so when I was dealing with other people, sometimes I was looking for love and connection. And the only way to do that for me, what I thought at the moment, was by being a people pleaser. But by being a people pleaser, I was only trying to manipulate the person and their circumstance that I was going through. And so I was trying to meet a need in not a very empowering way, right? So I had to figure out, once I got clear and real with myself, okay, what was the need that I was trying to meet? And I realized that I was trying to meet the need of connection, which is something we're always looking for. But is there a better way you can create connection for yourself, healthier connections for yourself, so that you can elevate yourself and your behaviors and your boundaries? So that's something that I want you guys to really understand. And just really clearly, just so you guys know this, that there are 6 basic human needs. So when you're trying to figure out, once you get real with, you've forgiven the person, you've gotten clear with yourself, have forgiven yourself, and you're trying to figure out, okay, what was the need for this that I was trying to meet when I was allowing X, Y, and Z to go on? These what you need to, it's the 6 human basic needs. It's certainty, uncertainty or variety, significance, love and connection, growth, or contribution, right? So ask yourself, which of these needs were you trying to meet when you were in a low level energy, and how can you meet that for yourself in an elevated state? This is gonna help you to really meet those needs for yourself with healthy boundaries and with pouring love on yourself. So how to let go and forgive again. One of the biggest things you can do is focus on the present moment. I can't emphasize this enough. The present moment, it's very magical. And I know a lot of us live our lives either, thinking about things that have happened to us in the past, or worrying about the future, which is why we're either depressed about our past or we're anxious about our future, right? So one of the best things you can do is practice present moment. Every moment, the power of now, the power of the present moment is so important to help you in your healing journey and to help you heal when it comes to forgiveness and anything else. So one of the things I like to say is always one of the easiest way you can get yourself back to the present moment is by bringing yourself back to your breath, just your breath. If you catch yourself thinking about the past, someone who've hurt you, who've done something that didn't feel right to you, that you're forgiven, and you've done the forgiveness work, but you're an autopilot and you get the thought in your mind again. At that moment, all you have to do is focus on the present moment. Take a deep breath, say, you know what, I've already forgiven this person. I've already forgiven this situation. In this moment, I choose to focus on the now, or I choose to focus on whatever. Remember that you have control of your life and you get to decide what you want to focus on. So you have the right to choose what it is that you want to focus on. And it's always a choice, and you always have a choice. So it's redirecting those stories that may creep up after you've done the work. You may have these stories that creep up, right? And usually we get triggered by the stories we start to tell ourselves. There's always a trigger, and then we start to tell ourselves the story that's not serving. that's not, we're not enough. We're not, we're this, we're that, whatever it is. Here we go. The voice of judgment, lack and fear comes from that. When we're in lack and fear and fight or flight mode, we go straight to judgment. The voice of love, authenticity, it's the elevated state that's going to love you and accept you unconditionally for who you are, for whom you are, without any judgment. And so learning to focus on the present moment, it's really going to help you to stay grounded and stay present. And that's one of the biggest things that you can do in life, especially when you're going through this healing journey, is, try to stay away from the past. Or anxious about the future. Doesn't mean the past is in the past. You learn from it, you move on. You now get to create what you want for the future. You have a goal, you do whatever it is that you're working on. It doesn't mean you don't think about the future, but it means you invest your time in the present moment. You can set that goal, whatever it is, and then just work in the present moment. So, okay, so now that you have reflected on the past, realize that it is over. Bring your focus to the present moment. You can do this by breathing, and we did the breathing exercise, or you can do this. This is another quick way, and I learned this and I love this. When I'm trying to bring myself to the present moment, be mindful of what you're doing. If you're typing, be mindful of the keys. If you're eating, really taste the food, really chew your food, really feel the texture, feel the taste, feel the whatever, however it feels. Try to really be mindful about the things that you're doing. If you're doing dishes, focus on doing dishes. If you're mowing the lawn, focus on that, but really just being present in what you're doing is another quick and easy way for you to ground yourself in the present moment. So mindfulness, try to bring mindfulness to everything that you're doing. That's going to improve your life and help you live in the present moment, which it is where the magic happens. It's in the present moment. It's not in the past and it's not in the future. It's right now. And this is where you want to be. So these are a couple of questions you can ask yourself when you're getting triggered. What am I doing right now? And do that mindfully, like I just said. What can I do to experience joy right now? This is important, so important. This is something I had to learn too. We sometimes grow up and forget that life is supposed to be fun, that we're here for the pleasure of living, the pleasure of love, the pleasure of happiness, the pleasure of joy, the pleasure of being alive. That's what life is all about. And sometimes we forget, we get so caught up on the goals and so caught up on what we need to do next and on our to-do list that we forget to actually enjoy ourselves. Find something somewhere in your life that you can practice joy every day. Find maybe 2 or 3 things that you really enjoy to do and try to do them on a daily basis, because life is supposed to be fun. And guess what? You could have a million things to do, a million goals, things you want to work on. You're never going to get it right, and you're never going to get it done, because when you get there, guess what? You're going to have another goal that you're going to accomplish. You're going to set a different goal, and you're going to set something else that's going to trigger you to work on yourself, work on something else, and grow, because life is about growth. So you're meant to keep growing and evolving. So with that being said, don't worry about the goal, worry about the journey, because the journey, it's what's going to get you to the goal. So you might as well have fun with it. You might as well enjoy it. You might as well grow with it. You might as well make the best of it. And we forget about that. And I was guilty of that, of forgetting to have fun and really enjoying my life and really taking out time to do those things that are going to fill me up, fill up my cup, so that I can show up as my better version into the world. And last questions, what can I be grateful for right now? I'm a huge gratitude person. I am grateful to be here with you guys. I am grateful that I'm breathing. I don't take anything for granted. Anything for granted. Any little thing I'm grateful for. I am so appreciative of the people around me, the circumstances around me. And I've learned to be like this through the good and the bad. When something happens that is not to my liking, I always stop and reflect, like, what is the lesson that I'm supposed to learn from this, right? Or how can I grow through this, right? Because life isn't happening to us, life is happening for us. And so when we take responsibility, and a lot of times when we're struggling, we ask ourselves disempowering questions like, why is this happening to me? And we need to move beyond that and elevate our thinking and elevate ourselves by asking empowering questions. When we're being triggered and we're experiencing a situation that's not favorable, this is the time for you to get curious and ask yourself, okay, what is it that I'm supposed to learn from this? What's the lesson and what's the blessing? And really, really look deep within yourself to figure that out. And if you don't believe me, I'm sure all of you have experienced something in the past that when you reflected after you went, that you thought was like the end of the world. And then after you went through it, you went back to analyze things and you realized that it was either there was a lesson or there was a blessing. Always, 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 because I believe that when circumstances show up into our life, is to help us grow, is to help. There's something unhealed within us. That's why we're getting triggered. And by analyzing and asking empowering questions, that's how you elevate it. And that's how you learn that lesson so you can move on to the next lesson and the next lesson and the next lesson. So you're always going to be triggered because that's where growth comes from. Your job is to respond. It's to respond, not react, which is what we're used to doing, always reacting. In fight or flight mode, we're reacting. When you're tuned into yourself in your heart space, you're responding. And that's what you want to be doing. And every time you find yourself thinking of the past, acknowledge it without judgment and bring yourself back to the present moment. Just want to make sure I say that again. So how do I let go and forgive? You have to learn to feel compassion and unconditional love for yourself and for the people around you. Feel empathy for the person and wish them well. Again, just because you forgive them, sometimes I've forgiven people that have hurt me. Some of them are still a part of my life and some of them are not. And that's okay. You can still forgive them. You can still, have that peace within your heart, whether or not they're in your life. Let unconditional love for them and for yourself grow in your heart. It may take you some time to get to this point, but keep working at it because you deserve a happy and peaceful life. So make sure whatever you are doing you're doing it for yourself. We sometimes want to change the world by changing everybody around us. But it really starts with you. You change, and then everything around you changes. With that being said, I just wrapped up the presentation, but I do want to give you guys some tools to implement. So besides those questions, one of the big things you can do is when you start processing forgiveness, when you start doing forgiveness work, be gentle with yourself. Really find the things that fill you up. And after you've had a session of writing where you've let go of a lot of emotions and processed a lot of emotions, this is a time for you to embrace yourself and nurture yourself. So find those things that nurture you, that light you up, that make you feel grounded, and do them. For me, I love nature, going on a walk, going on a hike, being surrounded by trees. There's just so much power and connection to the universe when you can do something like this. I don't know, listening to music, jump up and down, act silly. Like life, we take life so seriously. I used to do this and I don't anymore. I'm that girl that's walking around laughing and just being me and having a good time. And I'm hoping that other people will start to pick up on that because it's what we're meant to be doing here. It's being of service to one another, uplifting one another, coming from a place of love and authenticity. And forgiveness is the first step to getting you there. For forgiveness, it's definitely something that will free up all that energy that you're using for resentment, for anger, for fear. Once you release that, you free yourself and your energy to create. And you are a creator. That's what you came here to do. So I hope you guys enjoy my presentation. And it's been a blessing to be here with you all. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
That was fantastic. One of the key points that you mentioned that I find I do all the time is when I need to make a big decision, I do the breathing. That breathing is key to so many things. And I totally right. When you mentioned about the breathing, that's like my go-to for so many things. Nice deep breaths, put my hands on my belly, feel it. A lot of times I close my eyes, unless I'm like where there's a lot of people, then I don't close my eyes, and it looks kind of funny because I'm sitting there, my eyes closed. But I do take those deep breaths, and absolutely, those get you really focused and relaxed and making the right decisions. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you for that feedback. Well, yeah, when we breathe deeply like that, it actually comes down our nervous system, because when you realize when we're getting triggered and we're on fight or flight mode, our breathing gets shallow and we're like holding our breath. So when you take the time to focus on your breathing, you're actually feeding your nervous system and relaxing it, which is where you want to be, because that's where you're going to make your best decisions. Thank you for
Absolutely.
asking.
And I love the point about being silly. I'm always silly. I love the silliness. The silliness
Absolutely.
is like the way I live.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for that. I used to take life so seriously. I don't anymore, because it is. You have to be you. You have to have fun. You have to be silly. My kids I have 3 kids, and like we'll go to the trampoline park and they're literally like, all the moms are sitting down. No, I'm that mom jumping from trampoline to trampoline to trampoline. And they're like, Mom, you're embarrassing me. I'm like, I don't care. If you don't want me to jump with you, then we're not coming.
Awesome.
Great presentation, Armida. I like where you talked about it. Really is a choice. It really is a choice. Things are going to happen in our life that are going to, quote unquote, I'll say, offend us. But then to choose to continue to act being offended, you're just really hurting yourself. You're not helping yourself. You're not helping the other person. Quickly learn to let it go through forgiveness.
Right.
Universe gets back to its natural course and path. So thank you very much. That was a wonderful, powerful, I'll say, presentation. I love your presence with us. And when you went, please, 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 just absolutely love that. That was my favorite part. Gave me a nice giggle for you as well too.
That was your favorite part after all that content?
Yeah.
It was the please, please, please.
Why? Well, just because that's Armida being herself. That's just it's Armida being herself, and it's Armida just you're so committed to wanting to help and connect with other people for them to learn this on their own. That just comes across in the presentation. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Wonderful, beautiful soul.
Thank you. I am passionate about helping people, because I've been on the other side and it's not a great place to be. So anything I can do to elevate people, it's my passion and my calling now.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay. Super. Well, everybody have a wonderful weekend. I'll stop the recording now and away we go.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.